It says at the Arsenal panel, who replaces Timber against Brighton? Let me throw that to Dio. Who would you replace Timber with for the Brighton game, Dio?
Oh, that's a tough one for the Brighton game. I honestly don't know right now. I can't say off the top of my head. This yellow card, this 5 yellow card thing is just stupid to me. Honestly speaking, like, what are we doing? I think it's stupid. Like, you get 5 yellow cards and then you miss a game. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It does make sense. Dio, stop it.
No, it's annoying.
Dio, come on.
I'm saying it's
literally
annoying.
over 19
Yeah,
games.
We know it's going to be Partey though. Can we all admit?
It's annoying because
Yeah, but it's a mistake. It shouldn't be Partey.
Yeah, but
It's going to be Partey.
Yeah, if you put Partey up against Matoma, it's gonna be a sight for
Bro, he put Partey
No, I'm
up
actually not worried about that.
One second, he put Partey up against Luis Diaz and he kept him in.
And
his
he
pocket.
locked him up. I'm not worried about Partey.
Is Tommy Ashley not back yet?
No,
That guy don't exist, bro. He's a fairy tale now.
But
I'll tell you guys this, and you guys.
There's a difference
You guys
between
will
Matoma
laugh.
in terms of Matoma and Luis Diaz. I think Matoma is a better manipulator of the ball. I think Luis Diaz is a player who's better at running into space, but he's not as a better close control dribbler in comparison to a Luis Diaz. So I think that's why.
If not Thomas Partey, then who?
Sorry.
I have a name, but you guys won't like it. He's played right back against PSG and locked up Barcola a little bit. I would play Calafiori right back and move Luis Skelly to left back because I don't want to see Partey start right back. It doesn't work. He's our best midfielder in the season. Playing him right back in a game against Brighton away from home is idiotic in my opinion. I think Calafiori should play right back.
And also, you can talk about how good Mitoma is. If Mitoma has an off day, anybody you put in right back could be able to lock him up. He's had off games, so we can't always talk,
But the good thing about Brighton, though, Dio, is that they've got a lot of strength for depth. They've got Simon Adingra. They've got quite a few players who can cover that wide position, anyways.
Your mic's going a little bit crazy, by the way, bro. I'm not too sure if
it sounds distant.
Considering how good your rig is. Cheers, Ash. Thank you, mate. Consider how good your rig is as well. This here says, would watch Terry playing FIFA, call it TFT gaming. Yeah, maybe. Watch this space. We've got some big things coming up on the Terrace soon. People think that rebuilding a club is natural. Arteta has taken this club from a laughing stock to the team that is fighting for the Premier League and can legitimately hope to win it. This is very, very true. I've been doing a lot of research into rebuilds this last few days. It's amazing how people rewrite history. I'll tell the boys afterwards backstage, but I'm not going to ruin the bit of content. But this here says makes sense. Arteta does not want us to be a counter-attack team in general. Unfortunately, we are possession-based team to limit being countered. Shame.
I don't understand how that's
I really do see it differently. I suppose you're watching your team and you want to score with every attack, and because I'm not emotionally invested, I thought today you looked dangerous every time you went forward. I that's how I felt watching it. And do you know what? I'm probably being a little bit hyperbolic. Of course, sometimes you play the wrong ball and things didn't go right. But I felt like you had Brentford on tippy toes, on eggshells every time. The goal you scored, it felt like that was coming for a long while in the game until they scored. Then they had a 5-10 minute spell with dominance, and then you did it again. But of course, I think we all view each other's teams differently. When whenever I watch City play, generally, I don't know. It's like I never feel like they're going to lose a football match, if that makes sense. Because I mean, in fairness, they invariably didn't. But I don't know. And then some City fans would come on after I didn't like today, and I was like, "You didn't look shook for 90 minutes. What do you mean you didn't like today?" But yeah, 3 goals, no assists, but it's obsession to call it out for being jammy. So Blaze, I don't think it's obsession to call it out per se. What I think is a crazy obsession, and I think rivals have it for each other. There's Arsenal fans that will have this for other clubs as well. It isn't unique towards Arsenal per se, but it's weird to do what Hassam did. I've got a good feeling about Brentford. I think Brentford will win. They've got their injuries, but I think Brentford are going to win. Brentford score their goal. Wow, I told you I was going to be right. Arsenal dominate the game, have more shots, have more of the ball, have the better chances, have the better XG, whichever you like to look at, win 3-0. And do you know what? Arsenal were just jammy today. And by the way, they didn't even beat that great a team. That's what people are calling out when it comes to, I think, the obsession element is the energy afterwards isn't the same as the energy before, which I think is a fair cop, Blaze. And you've called it out when people have done that to Chelsea. And
talking about with 4 goals and
very, very quickly, guys. Terry, man, I gotta go, guys. Big up to everybody here.
Cheers, bro. Cheers, bro. Take care, my man. Thank you, Omar. Thank you. FYI, Hussam spent his stream bitching, whining, and crying like Arsenal stole his girlfriend. I did hear that. Pinball games happen when a team is in a low block, Hussam. It's not a bad sign. It's a fair point. Igal, you stated if Slot finishes above Arteta in his first season, he should be sacked. Are you still standing by that now that it looks likely to happen?
Unprecedented circumstances have taken place and has changed my mind.
The
way you said that so calmly and so coolly.
But to this question, it says it looks likely to happen. I could argue differently that the first time Arsenal did win the Premier League, which was 1997-98, as of January we were 12 points behind Manchester United in 5th place, and by May we were champions. And we saw this last season as well, where by game week 20, Liverpool last year was 5 points ahead of Arsenal. Even though we did not win the league, by the end of the season, we were 7 points ahead of them. That's a 12-point swing. So it's not like it's never been done before. It's possible.
Yeah. I also look. Do you know what you did, Gal? A lot of people do this, and it's not a dig. This is just I've seen it in the mainstream media as well. We are still judging clubs in England when they change head coaches, change managers, based on the way English clubs historically were run. I've told you about Arsenal. You guys are not going to have to rebuild the entire club, the recruitment. You might bring in new recruiters, you might bring in new coaches, but they're going to all fit what you've been building for the last 5 years. I feel that we're going to see, like in Spain, like in Germany, like in these other countries, the top teams that have the money, which all of our top 6 have, probably barring Spurs because they've never had that consistency. Once they get their builds right, I don't think they're just going to drop off for long periods through changing coaches. You might replace Arteta and the new guy's trash. You have a bad year, he leaves, someone new comes in, you straight back up. I think we're moving into that realm. And I get why people predicted Liverpool to be much worse with Slot, but that's because they're not focusing on how all the clubs are now structured. And I don't blame the general fan. I blame the mainstream media. The same reason I blame them for people thinking net spend is real. They don't focus on the real shit that goes on in football. There have been no real documentaries, no real great pieces of journalism, especially from the sort of the video-based media that you watch, that have broken down how clubs are structured, how they operate, and compared it to years gone by and made us see how it's different and how changing managers now isn't as dangerous or as you should be as fearful of it as you used to be. I really do think, again, if fan channels had the budgets and the access, that stuff would get done. The mainstream media is just shit, bro. They have all the access and they give us fucking nothing. I tell you, they really, really do.
You know what it is, Terry? The broadcasters, BT Sport, Sky Sports in the UK, don't do it as well as they do it in other major networks across the world. Because I watched the Australian network, Opus. They had a sit-down interview with the manager, breaking down his tactics. They have sit-down interviews with players talking about what they were thinking in the lead up to their best goals in their career. But over here, all we get is advertisements for the big boxing fight next week for 20 minutes.
Think about it, right? How often do you hear the media ask questions, not press conferences, but like do interviews and ask the questions that we genuinely want answers to? And I get they're not going to reveal game plans and players that they're looking at, but like historical stuff. I want a bit more detail on. I would love, this is the question I'd ask Arteta if I was in front of him. Why did you loan Saliba for this? Maybe it's a fan thing. I've seen Arsenal fans and rivals argue for years. He should have started playing straight away. It was ridiculous. We loaned him out for 2 years. I want to hear the reasoning, the rationale, and the why behind why it happened. Not just the media reports and snippets. I would love those questions. Because again, if my thought is, I don't think the player was ready. I've read reports that he was a bit homesick and he wanted to go back there. And that's my belief because of what I've read. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I want to know the truth. And I think that truth educates us all to talking about football in a better way. And we don't get enough of it from them. And the reason I blame the mainstream media is they're the ones who have the access. They're the ones, you get it with the referees all the time. How often do we see the real tough questions being asked so we all learn more? Do you get where I'm coming from? And there needs to be so much more of that, I think, to help. In some respects, I'd like some of the fan debates to be ended. I don't care whether I'm right or wrong.
Why don't journalists?
I just want the facts.
Why don't journalists ask these guys, why didn't you play Ethan, instead of being like, instead of asking them, oh, how are all your pregnant players getting pregnant?
I'll tell you why they do this, though. Yeah, I get you. But the reason why they do it is because the mainstream media can be very, very poisonous in the sense of we as fans, we will react to what we're seeing and you'll go, that's terrible, that's good. I like that, I don't like it. But we're reacting to what the media tells us. The media will, why weren't you playing Waneri? And he might say something along the lines of, do you know what? We didn't think we had the maturity at that time. There was this issue and that issue. Some media outlets will turn it into Arteta slams immature Waneri, and they turn it into a negative. They won't just. It's why the legacy media is dying by and large, and podcasts are growing so much around the world, because actually someone can sit there for 3 hours and really go into detail about their political beliefs, their religious beliefs, their sporting beliefs, why they did things. The mainstream media, it's all very much. They did it to Ruben Amorim 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Ruben Amorim said it's really embarrassing to be the Man United manager when you're losing so much. The headline was, Amorim says it's embarrassing to be the Man United manager. That's why the clubs don't open up and speak to the media and go into this stuff in more detail, because they know that they're going to twist things to make it sound negative more so than it is. When fans actually just want it, I think it's a mixture of all of those things. Go on, mate.
The thing that really pissed me off was there was an interview that was done recently with Mikel Arteta, and out of everything they could have asked him about the upcoming game, about the past couple games, about players missing, they asked him about how all these Arsenal players are getting married and having kids, like irrelevant topics. It just seems like a majority of these interviews are filled with irrelevant things that nobody asks or even wants to know about, for God's sakes.
Yeah, no, someone just said, why is he saying that in the first place about Ruben Amorim? Because it was relevant to the topics that were being asked of him. And I think it's very fair and very honest. And I actually like it. A manager saying, again, I don't really watch a lot of the press conferences, but I saw that headline. And when I saw it, I thought, I've got to click on it and see. And I was like, you fucking liars. But I like what he said. I like the fact that he feels embarrassed that he's losing, because him feeling embarrassed means he's got an emotional connection to wanting to win. You want that. It's like any employee. If an employee has a bad week at work, I want them to feel pissed off, embarrassed, frustrated, annoyed that they didn't achieve their goals. If they were like, don't care that I'm not losing, that would bother me a lot more. So that's why he said it. But then the headlines, and I've seen, let's do these super chats here. Sorry, guys. Hassan's blood pressure is getting high. Yeah, he was fuming, mate. That's why he's a pussycat in a tree. Hussam crying because Arsenal got a huge win. Unlike their loser fans, Arteta and his team are not giving it to Liverpool without a fight. Come on, you gooners. Kane Anthony here says, Souls, can you point your camera at your bedside table? I'm sure we'll see. Oh, Jesus Christ. We're not going to go into any more detail on that one. Come on, my friend. I don't think Souls has sex toys on the side of his bed with Arteta's face on it. I don't believe that. It's over positive. Delulu Arsenal glaze is jarring. Signs of champions. What a donut. I don't think it's. Listen, that's Souls. You can answer that. Like you said earlier on, that a win today is a sign of a champion. They're saying that you shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah, I mean, going to a tough away game. They've only lost once in the entire campaign. Without your best two goal scorers, without Declan Rice, who's £105 million, pressures on a 17-year-old. I mean, there was a lot of things that could have gone wrong today. Went 1-0 down. We didn't play well. First half, the heads could have dropped. All of this, right? And we're at an away stadium. So, I mean, if that's not a sign of champions, and I mean, you need to be watching more football rather than focusing on people's, personal lives and what you get up to in your bedroom. Rather than
can I say this about Kane Anthony? Next time you want to talk about a Didi type thing like this, just make it £100 super chat. You can't just make it worth the while. If you're going to talk about dildos, make it £100.
We should set a limit on the table. You want to insult the panelists, they've got to be £100 or more. And I'll give the panelists half of it. That's what we'll set up a standard there if you want to abuse people.